Apologies for being a little late today. So, as you all know, we have been studying this Śrī Upadeśāmṛta series, and it is only by the mercy of all of you, Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis, that we are able to do this today. So please accept my obeisances unto all of you. So as we are studying this Upadeshamrita by Srila Rupa Goswami, we always begin by offering a prayer or offering a glorification given by our previous acharyas for the glorification of Srila Rupa Goswami. So this particular stanza is written in a commentary form on Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. So this this commentary is actually very beautiful because it not only glorifies Srila Rupa Goswami, who wrote this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, but also those who are Rupanugas, those who are the followers of Sri Rupa Goswami. So the verse is, Yesham kripa lavam prapya rasabdhir durgamo maya sprishta shudramater mepi te Shri Rupa ganagatihi. That is, by receiving a mere drop of their mercy, even I, a small intelligent person, one who has small intelligence, that is sprishta, and like a shudra, someone who is so fallen, he has, by a mere drop of their mercy, I can touch the otherwise inaccessible ocean of rasa. So Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, that is the ocean of rasa in bhakti, that has been written by Srila Rupa Goswami. But as someone like myself, who is unable to understand this Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, can only take the shelter of those who are Rupanuga, those who understand the mood and the heart of Srila Rupa Goswami. Hence, this is why it is written in the commentary. Because until and unless we access the mercy of the Rupanugas, we will be unable to access that ocean of bhakti ras. So in conclusion, Te Shri Rupa Ganagatihi, those followers of Shri Rupa are my refuge. So we are so fortunate that we are in the line of Srila Rupa Goswami, this most magnificent line where we are trying to understand the highest topics given to us in a very simple and easy way in this Upadeshamrita. So I recently found this excerpt in Walking with a Saint, which is a book that discusses the morning walk question and answers that Srila Gurudev had with many of his disciples. So in that book, there was one excerpt where Shripad Padmanabh Maharaj asked the question, Srila Gurudev, you have often instructed us to follow Upadeshamrita first. And Gurudev responds saying, yes. And Maharaj then says, and you have said that when we become more qualified, we should follow the Manah Shiksha of Srila Raghunath Das Goswami. And then Srila Gurudev replies, you will never be able to advance without following the instructions of Śrī Upadeśāmṛta. This is the first step. Because these steps are very high, you cannot gallop or jump over them. So last time we learned from Jaiva Dharma that by studying things in proper order or in proper kram, that is step by step, in an organized methodical way, then we can advance in bhakti. For those that study or hear katha in a very random way, sometimes hearing about one topic, then jumping to another topic, then jumping to another topic, they're not able to piece together the leelas and the pastimes, and also the gur rahasya, that is the inner meanings, and experience the bhakti ras. This is what Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has written. So here Srila Gurudev has said, this is the first step, Śrī Upadeshamrita. And these steps are not, just because it is the first step or the first few steps, does not mean that they are very simple. They also are very high. And in this way, we can try to understand them step by step in a slow, methodical way so that we appreciate and experience the nectar that is given by this Śrī Upadeśāmṛta. So, as you know, we have been continually studying the verses in detail, and we are now at verse 7, which describes the process of performing bhajan of Sri Krishna's Nam and pastimes. Today we will start a sort of mini-series, within a larger series discussing Sri Nam. And because this verse is emphasizing how one should chant every day and with great respect Sri Nam, we should understand a little bit more about Nam. Now, almost all of us have heard many glorifications of Nam. For example, all of us must have heard that in this age of Kali, the chanting of the holy names is the only way to achieve the highest goal. So, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama eva kevalam, kalo nasteva, nasteva, nasteva gatir anyatha. To achieve gati, the highest goal, then one must take shelter of Nam in this age of Kali. We have also heard many other statements about Nam. Simply chanting once brings great benefit or liberation. We have heard that by taking shelter of Nam, we can achieve the Krishna Prem. So many statements we have heard, but we should try to understand the depth of these statements. Because I can speak for myself, though I have heard the name and chanted the name for so many years and decades, I still am not experiencing Krishna Prem. Harivalla Prabhu, does that doubt sometimes come in your mind? That, wait, I was told that chanting the names will get me everything, but somehow it still feels like I'm not getting it.
Yes, Prabhu.
So we have to understand why this is not happening, and we can understand that by understanding the nature of Nam and its activity and how it functions. So then we will try to understand that in this mini series of the nature of Nam. So let us recite the verse as we always do. So I will invite devotees to unmute if they would like to recite the verse. Anybody can unmute and recite it.
Okay, I'll start. Syāt kṛṣṇa-nāma-caritādi-sitāpy avidyā pito patapta asanasya narochikānu kintavādarād anudinam khalu saiva jushta swadvikramad bhavati tadgadamula hantri.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. Very nice. Anyone else would like to recite?
Hari Bol Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Didi. Hare Krishna.
Syāt kṛṣṇa-nāma-caritādi-sitāpy avidyā pito-patapta rasanasya narachikuna kintvadarat anudinam khalu saiva jushta swadvikramat bhavati tad gatami mulahantri.
Wonderful. Thank you, Didi. Anyone else? Okay, so syāt kṛṣṇa-nāma-caritādi-sitāpy avidyā pito patapta rasanasya narochikānu kintu ādarāt anudinam khalu saiva jushta swadvikramat bhavati tad gadamula hantri. So, Harivalla Prabhu, can you kindly read the translation?
Aho, the nectarian name, character, pastimes, and activities of Krishna are all transcendently sweet like sugar candy. But the tongue of one afflicted by the jaundice of avidyā, beginningless ignorance, cannot taste anything sweet. Instead, these attributes taste bitter to them. But if every day one with great respect chants these sweet names, a natural relish awakens within his tongue, and his disease is gradually destroyed at the root.
Wonderful. So, we are reading this verse, and last time we discussed how the affliction of avidyā, that is the disease of beginningless ignorance, is compared to jaundice. And we learned a little bit about the disease of jaundice and how it is cured by the same thing that tastes very bitter in the very beginning. So by continuously taking the name, just like sugar candy, slowly, slowly relieves the disease of jaundice. And only after some time, by continuously tasting it, does one understand it is very sweet. Similarly, by continuously, regularly, with great respect, if one chants the names of Lord Hari, of Sri Krishna, then that disease of bitterness that one feels when they chant the name, that will gradually go away. So we have been studying this Upadeśāmṛta under the guidance of these previous acharyas who have wonderful commentaries and are helping us understand this text in full. So last time we covered the commentary of Śrī Radharaman Das Goswami and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Today we will touch on the commentary of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada. So Harivala Prabhu, can you kindly read? This is a little lengthy, so I request devotees to patiently pay attention, and then we can understand this a little bit more.
Sri Krishna's names, form, qualities, and pastimes are compared to sugar candy, and ignorance is compared to jaundice. Just as delectably sweet sugar candy does not appeal to the tongue that is afflicted by jaundice, the delightful and delicious sugar candy of Sri Krishna's names, form, qualities, and pastimes does not appeal to the jiva who is engulfed by ignorance, due to his indifference to Krishna, which has no beginning in time.
And then he continues.
If, however, one continuously takes the medicine of this sugar candy of Sri Krishna's names, form, qualities, and pastimes with great honor and faith, the sweet taste of Sri Krishna's name will gradually increase, and the disease of material enjoyment, which is rooted in the desire to be aloof from Krishna, will be dissipated.
All right, so we have heard this in previous commentaries also. Then Prabhupada quotes a very nice verse.
In the Padma Purana, Swargakanda 48:56, it is confirmed that the principal effect of the holy name will not be immediately experienced when taken by those who are materially engrossed.
All right, and Prabhu, can you kindly read the translation of this?
O Brahmana, if the Lord's holy name is cast among the atheists, who are lustful toward the body, material possessions, and family members, it will not quickly produce the fruit of love for him.
All right, so this verse is quite important because Srila Prabhupada is giving the point that the fruit will not be quickly produced. And what is the fruit of chanting the name? That is obtaining Krishna Prema. So here it says, if the Lord's holy name is cast amongst the atheists, who are lustful towards the body, material possessions, and family members. Harivalla Prabhu, does this kind of seem that only if you're an atheist, you won't get the quick production of the fruit of love for him?
Not necessarily. It seems like if you're having too much attachment towards body and other things, you might not get it.
Yes. So the translation here kind of implies that you have to be an atheist. And because atheists who are lustful towards the body, material possessions, and family members, they do not get the result. But actually, the translation can also be read that if an atheist hears the name, if someone who is lustful towards their own body hears the name, if they are attached to their material possessions or family members hears the name, all of these types of persons, the fruit that comes from chanting the name is not quickly realized. But, so that is one point, that it is not just for atheists, it is for anyone who has these sort of attachments. That is one point. But there's also a little bit of hope in this verse. Why is that? Because it says it will not quickly produce the fruit of love for him. But it doesn't say that it won't produce the fruit at all. So, dear devotees, the important aspect of this verse is we may not get the result right away because of our various attachments or because if we are atheist, but the result will eventually come. And that is the power and potency of the Nam. So on the one hand, we should not expect that the result comes right away. But on the other hand, we can be confident that a result will definitely come. Hence why in previous verses, we have heard utsaha nischaya dhairyat, that we should be hopeful with great enthusiasm, utsaha, but we should be patient, dhairyat, in the result that we obtain. Then he continues.
Due to the influence of ignorance, the jiva thinks highly of his material body, family members, and material attachments. He mistakenly considers the illusory energy, which is active only where there is an absence of awareness of the Lord, as the supreme controlling entity, Bhagavan.
So we have heard this also, that when one is attached to these various things, this is known as avidyā, or ignorance. And that is because of illusory energy or maya. But when one is aware of the Lord, that is, he's remembering the Lord at all times, then this maya completely dissipates. And this is how Srila Prabhupada describes what happens.
Thus, he is unable to understand his true spiritual identity. By the power of Sri Krishna's name, the false egoism arising from the jiva's ignorance is dispelled like fog. At that time, the jiva acquires a taste for performing Krishna bhajan.
All right, so here, the process of removing the ignorance of the jiva, when the jiva chants the name of the Lord, it goes away like fog. By chance today, actually in the very early morning, because it's getting very cold here, there was actually quite a lot of fog around our home. And it's funny because when I was reading this commentary and I was seeing that fog, I put two and two together that the fog doesn't go away right away. Prabhuji, when you see fog on the streets or anywhere, does it take some time to go away or does it instantly disappear upon the sun arising?
I think it takes some time, right?
Yes, it takes some time. So similarly, it takes some time for the effect of Sri Krishna's name to dissipate this avidyā. Because avidyā, as our acharyas have described in this verse, and translated as beginningless ignorance, that means it has been going on since unlimited time. It's been going on eternally, that we have been ignorant. So because that fog that has been there for so long, it takes time for the ray of light of Sri Krishna's name to dissipate this fog. That is why this verse emphasizes kint adarad anudinam. Anudinam means chanting every single day. So when one takes the medicine every single day, just as jaundice is gradually cured, similarly, this disease of avidya is gradually cured. It does not happen right away for most of us. So when we read this verse, we should pay attention to each individual part. And the third line in particular is sort of the trick, sort of the hidden key for how we can unlock the result from Nam. Here it gives us two characteristics. Srila Rupa Goswami is giving us two characteristics of how one can perform the chantings of the name, the chanting of the names in a proper way in order to achieve the result. So here the words adarad and anudinam. Adarad means adar, for those of you who know Hindi, adar, with great respect, and anudinam every single day. So when one does these two things, it is like the hidden key or the perfect dosage of the medicine. Just as a doctor, when he prescribes a medicine, he tells how many tablets to take, maybe once in the morning and once at night, or just one per day, or one every 4 hours. Similarly, Srila Rupa Goswami is giving the medicine and giving the proper prescription that you must do it with great respect and you must do it every single day. When you follow this, then definitely the natural relish awakens within the tongue and the disease gradually gets destroyed at the root. Now, when Srila Rupa Goswami is saying destroyed at the root, he means that that disease never comes back as long as one is following these two prescriptions. See, in this world, when we take a medicine, there's often what they call side effects. So while it may cure one particular symptom or disease, it may also cause other problems due to its side effects. But this medicine of kṛṣṇa-nāma does not behave in this way. Instead, it completely eradicates, it pulls from the root, such that this disease never goes away, never comes back again. And the side effect of Nam is that it gives great joy and bliss, so that one experiences the bhakti ras within his heart. So this is the nature of kṛṣṇa-nāma, and if one does it with great respect every day, one will certainly get the result. Now, when reading this verse, sometimes devotees may ask, well, why every day? Why do we need to chant every day? Should it not be that it happens right away? Or why does it take a very long time to chant and receive the results of chanting the name? Shouldn't it happen only by chanting the name once? Now, Harivallabh Prabhu, have you heard many times in Harikatha that by chanting the name once, you can achieve so many results?
Yes, I have.
And we have heard several examples of how someone who chanted the name just once or at the right time, they achieved so many wonderful results. Have you also heard such examples?
Yes.
So when we hear these examples, and then on the other hand, Srila Rupa Goswami is saying, well, no, you need to do it every day. You need to do it with great respect. Then gradually you'll get the result. Then it seems like a bit of a conflict and a doubt arises in the mind. Do you understand the contrast between these two statements, Prabhuji?
Yes. Though I have heard that generally the getting a great result from one name is a rare case.
Is a very rare case, yes. So we should try to understand why that is the case and why such statements are made in Shastra that even by chanting the name once, one achieves liberation. And this verse has been quoted by Srila Gurudev often, and this verse is in the Bhagavatāmṛta. And it's a very beautiful verse. And it also highlights how chanting the name once gives liberation. So this verse is Jayati Jayati Nama Nandarupam Murare Viramita Nija Dharma Dhyana Puja Diyatnam Katham Api Sakridatam Muktidam Praninam Yad Paramamamritam Ekam Jivanam Bhushanam Me. So Prabhuji, what is the translation of this verse?
All glories to the all blissful holy name of Sri Krishna, which causes the devotee to give up all conventional religious duties, meditation, and worship. When somehow or other uttered even once by a living entity, the holy name awards him liberation. The holy name of Krishna is the highest nectar. It is my very life and my only treasure.
So when we read this verse, and particularly when we see this highlighted portion, when somehow or other uttered even once, the holy name awards him liberation. Then we hear this and we experience great enthusiasm. Now, when I say Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, have I said the names once?
Yes, certainly.
But I'm still here. How come I haven't received liberation yet?
Maybe you're liberated and you don't know it.
Okay. Well, it certainly doesn't feel like I'm liberated. And if I was liberated, we have this concept in our mind that, you know, I wouldn't be here on this planet Earth. I would be achieving a higher loka or a higher destination. So when we hear this, this is really surprising to us that we have chanted a lot. We have chanted for years and years, and yet it still feels that I'm not liberated. So is this verse wrong? Is this verse an exaggeration? Let's try to understand this in full. Now, there's another verse also that discusses how chanting the name once gives great results. So this verse is written by Srila Rupa Goswami himself, actually, in his Kṛṣṇa-nāma-caritādi-sitāpy. Yad brahma sakshat kriti nishtayapi vinasam ayati vinana naboge apaiti nama spuranena tatte prarabdha karmeti viroti vedaha. So Prabhuji, read the translation.
O Nama, the Vedas loudly declare that even without a devotee undergoing any suffering, his prarabdha karma, the karma which constitutes this body, which cannot be eliminated even by resolute meditation on impersonal Brahman, is at once mitigated by your appearance on the tongue.
So here again, the verse is mentioning at once. In the previous verse, it was also mentioned at once. So how do we reconcile this? Because we are hearing various different statements. Shastra never makes a wrong statement, but they don't seem to be in line. So let's try to understand this fully. And we can take this example of Ajamil. Srila Gurudev gave this very beautiful Harikatha, which we, over the next few parts of this little mini-series, will study in more detail, because this really addresses many, many points about Shri Nam. Today we'll start with just understanding the nature of Nam and its free will and how it functions. But later we'll also understand that why our acharyas have said Nam, Rupa, Guna, Lila, the names, forms, qualities, and pastimes. Why is it in that order? Why isn't it Rupa, Guna, Nam, Lila? Why is the name given so much emphasis? Why are all the things that come after this name, like the form, pastimes, etc.? Why do they come after the name? Why is the name given first? We will try to understand that. We will try to understand that what is a proper way to respect the name that is very easily understood as, okay, well, I'll just sit in one place in a corner, in a quiet place, and I'll try to meditate on the name. Is that respect? No, we'll try to understand the proper way of doing that. So in this little mini series of understanding Nam, we'll try to understand many aspects of Nam that hopefully devotees will find as new information. So this katha by Srila Gurudev addresses this first point. So Prabhuji, I'd like you to read what Srila Gurudev has written here, and then I will try to address some points and highlight some points.
Yes. There is a question. Suppose there is a person who is committing many offenses, who is a murderer, who slaughters cows, and who is full of bad qualities. Suppose that sinful person somehow chants Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Will his chanting have any effect or not? What will be the gain? What will be the result?
So when Srila Gurudev asks this question, then one devotee responds saying he will be purified. So Prabhuji, do you agree that if even a person who is like a murderer chants the name, he becomes purified?
I wouldn't. I don't think I would perceive him as purified.
Okay. So how would you perceive someone who was previously a sinner but then began to chant the name? Do you believe that he will eventually become purified?
I believe that he will eventually become purified, yes.
Okay. And we have heard examples of, for example, Valmiki. Valmiki Sri Valmiki, who was a murderer, he used to half kill animals. He would shoot the animals with an arrow, for example, but he wouldn't fully kill them because he enjoyed seeing the pain and suffering before they finally died. And then he would take a knife or a sword, cut off one of their limbs, and see them squeal in pain, and he would experience great delight in this. One day, Sri Narad Muni, who became his guru, met him and said, "Why are you doing this? Why are you killing the animals in this way? Don't you know that you will get a great amount of sin or pap as a result?" Then when Valmiki heard this, then he began describing how his family members would take part in his sin, or he would describe that what is the harm in killing the animals, and much conversation ensued. Finally, after taking shelter of Sri Narad Muni, then Narad Muni instructed him to chant the names of Lord Ram. Ram, 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 Ram. But Valmiki was unable to do so because of his sinful activities. Then Narad Muni said, okay, if you can't chant the names of Lord Ram, then chant Mara, 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 Mara. So by chanting Mara, Mara means to kill. By chanting Mara, 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 it gradually becomes Ram, 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 Ram. So Valmiki followed the instructions of his guru by chanting Mara, which gradually purified his tongue, just as this verse describes. Gradually he began tasting the name, and then he could chant the names of Lord Ram in a pure way. And then, of course, Sri Valmiki wrote Ramayana and became a great acharya. So this is an example of a murderer who became purified due to the chanting of the name. But Srila Gurudev asked a very important question, because we hear these wonderful stories like Valmiki, and we wonder, wait, by chanting the name, why did Valmiki, or why did anyone not realize right away the glories of the name? So Gurudev then responds to the devotee who says he will be purified. He says, why does he not realize it at that time? And then he continues, Srila Gurudev, kindly read, bro.
The example is Ajamil. He was a very wicked person. Earlier in his life, he was a good Brahmana, but then he associated with a prostitute and became a murderer. He engaged in all kinds of sins, and he shared the fruits of his crimes with that prostitute. He chanted, but he chanted the name of his son, Narayana. What became of him? What was the result of his chanting?
So, Harivallabh Prabhu, I'd like to ask you a question if you don't mind.
Yes, certainly.
Can you just briefly describe the story of Ajamil in your understanding?
Yes.
Even just the last part where he takes the name of his son Narayan.
Okay, yes. At that point, he had several children, and somehow he, by good fortune, with a visiting sadhu, he named one Narayan, I believe, and
His youngest son, yes.
his youngest son. And then finally, at the time of death, he was actually just calling out for his son because it was his favorite son. He loved him the most. He was calling out for his son because I suppose out of attachment, he didn't want to leave his son. And yeah, by calling out the name Narayana, the Vishnu Dutes came to save him from the Yamadutes.
Okay. And then what happened after the Vishnu Dutas came and the Yamadutas went away? Then what happened?
Then I believe the Vishnu Dutas could not take him to Vaikuntha. Rather, they told him he needed to go take Sadhu Sangha.
Yes. So in many devotees' minds for the understanding of the story of Ajamil is they pay attention to this part, which is that, as Prabhu mentioned, he took the name of his son, and even by this nam abhas, or semblance of the name, that he received mukti. Now, mukti, in this case, is not liberation in a traditional sense, but mukti from going to the hellish planets. So mukti is described as the relief of suffering or the removal of suffering within this material world. All of us desire at some point or another to get relief from the suffering that we experience in this material world. And so many devotees keep this hidden desire within their heart of mukti, that, oh, with this process of bhakti or with this process of chanting the name, I can achieve relief from the suffering of this material world, and I can go home, go back to Godhead. Because there, it's a very happy place. It's a very joyous place, and I will enjoy very nicely in service of Shri Krishna. Within this statement or within this mood, there is a hidden desire of selfishness that, oh, I should get relieved from my suffering. So many devotees experience this because they're taught these sort of examples due to, and they feel that, oh, if I perform bhakti or if I chant the name, in return from that, I will get some relief from my suffering and get happiness. And therefore, that's why I will perform bhakti. So in the case of Ajamil, he was, of course, saved from the hellish planets, from being dragged down by the Yamadutas. The devotees or messengers of Lord Vishnu came, the Vishnu Dutas. But as Harivalla Prabhu kindly pointed out, they gave him one important instruction, because just because he had chanted the name of the Lord does not make him qualified to enter into Vaikuntha. So they gave him a second chance. They instead, as Gurudev describes, they gave him initiation. They gave him diksha, where they gave him mantra, and they also told him to obtain sadhu sangha and chant the names properly. So because of the sadhu sangha of the Vishnu Dutas, who were pure devotees of the Lord, Ajamil understood and rectified his mistake. And he understood that, wow, just one nam abhas, a semblance of the name, even though I wasn't calling out for the Lord himself, I was just calling my son, could save me, could give me mukti. Still, what can Shuddhanam give if a nam abhas can give something like mukti? So the Vishnu Dutas instructed him. Ajamil then went to Haridwar. He associated with the sadhus in Haridwar. And as Gurudev describes and the Srimad Bhagavatam describes, he then chanted Shuddhanam, achieved prema, and then upon achieving prema, the Vishnu Dutas appeared again and then finally took him to Vaikuntha. So Nam has three different aspects to it. We have heard, I am sure all of you have heard, Nam Aparad, Nam Abhas, and Shuddhanam. So because sometimes we don't hear the latter half of the story, which is that Ajamil had to still perform and perfect his sadhan practice, and then he could attain Vaikuntha. Because as Gurudev describes, no one can attain Vaikuntha without achieving prema. So the result of mukti, or relief of suffering, is just the very, as they say in Hindi, is very tuchh, like a very secondary, minute effect that comes from the name. Just from the very start of chanting the name, a devotee can get liberation. So in the previous verses, Jayati Jayati Nama, that verse describes that if one chants the name once, then he will get liberation. So liberation, though, is not the desire for the bhaktas, because the bhaktas consider bhukti mukti spriha yavid pishachi hirdi vartate, that the desire for mukti, or the desire for the relief of suffering, is like the witch can be compared to a witch. Because ultimately, the desire for relief from suffering of this material world is a selfish desire. It has nothing to do with prema, because prema has everything to do with pleasing and satisfying the desire of Shri Krishna. So when one develops prema, when one develops real love in the heart for Shri Krishna, he does not have that selfish desire of achieving some sort of pleasurable place or receiving some relief from his own suffering. In fact, he's just fine being happy in whatever suffering the Lord wants to give him, because he understands that this is the mercy of the Lord, and not take it as that this is some sort of punishment. So when we are striving to obtain the highest fruit from the tallest tree, that is the best result from chanting the names of the Lord, we should identify and ask ourselves, are we subtly asking for mukti? Are we subtly asking for our own relief? Or are we simply looking to please Shri Krishna? Are we crying out to him and saying, "O Nam Prabhu, O Shri Krishna, may you be pleased with this chanting of the name. Whether you throw me in suffering or whether you give me the pleasure of the heavenly planets, all look the same to me, because I don't see any difference between them as long as you are pleased." There's a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Narayana parasarve, na kutaschanna nabhibyati, swarga apvarga narakeshva, api tulyata darshanam. That is the devotee who is surrendered to Lord Narayan, who chants the name of Lord Narayan. He sees that the joy of the heavenly planets, that is relief from suffering and experiencing nice, pleasurable life, and he sees the suffering within the hellish planets as the same. Swarga, Apavarga, Narakeshva. Swarga, Apavarga, even the higher planets past Swarga, and Narak, the hellish planets, Api Tulyartha Darshanam. He sees them, he takes darshan of those three places, and they appear all the same, because he has no desire outside of pleasing Shri Krishna, Shri Narayan. So when we are chanting the names, yes, just by chanting once, one can achieve liberation. But that is not our ultimate goal. Instead, our desire should be that we chant Shuddhanam, pure Nam, with great taste, with great relishment. But why? For the pleasure of the Lord, not for ourselves. So, in the discussion of Ajamil, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, has given a very nice summary of what Ajamil actually did. So, Prabhu, can you read this?
Hari Kirtana is actually meant to glorify the holy name, form, pastimes, and qualities of the Lord. Ajamil, however, did not glorify the form, qualities, or paraphernalia of the Lord. He simply chanted the holy name. Nevertheless, that chanting was sufficient to cleanse him of all sinful activities.
So when we are chanting, at first, just as Srila Rupa Goswami describes, Shraddha Sadhu Sangha Bhajana Kriya Anartha Nivritti. That when one starts off on bhajan, that is chanting of the names, or offering service to the Lord, in which one way is chanting the names, then anartha nivritti, the cleansing of the sinful nature or the sinful tendency occurs. So Ajamil, by chanting just his son's name, Narayan, he was able to cleanse himself of all sinful activities. Now, we should understand, just as Prabhu mentioned, that this is a very special case, and this is a very rare case, but not the norm, because we have all chanted many, many times, but I can say for myself that still my sinful tendency is not fully cleansed. But the story of Ajamil is very special, hence why it is quoted in Srimad Bhagavatam, because it describes the potency or the potentiality of the power of the name. But the name, just like the Lord, has complete free will. Whether he wants or whether he doesn't want, he can give the result right away, or he can take his sweet time due to his sweet will. And just as mentioned, when the devotee chants the name with the mood that he's simply looking to please Sri Krishna, then he prays to the Lord, "O Lord, whenever you so desire that I get the fruit of that name, I am very happy with that." Instead of, "O Lord, today I've chanted 16 rounds. For years I've chanted 16 rounds. For decades I've chanted 16 rounds. And now I will use that accumulation of chanting and I will trade it to you for mukti or relief from my suffering." Then the devotee is what? He is doing a business transaction. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Here, Prabhu, here, Krishna, take this name, and in result, you give me something. This is a business-like transaction. But, as Srila Rupa Goswami says here, Kint adarad anudinam, that is with great respect, meaning, O name, whatever result you want to give me, whenever you want to give it to me, I'm very happy with that, because I want to go according to your sweet will, not according to mine. So in the case of Ajamil, Sri Nam Prabhu gave great mercy on Ajamil just by chanting once, because Nam Prabhu or Sri Krishna has the free will to do that. But that is not required that he does that to everyone. So in this way, we should understand. Now, Srila Gurudev continues in the same lecture. In a different lecture, and he's talking about Ajamil also. So Prabhu, can you kindly read this?
Ajamil returned to external consciousness and left his wife, children, and everything else. He went to Haridwar, where he took bath in the Ganga, and there he adopted the mantra and process given him by the 4 Vishnu Dutas. By chanting and chanting, prema for Narayana came, and by this prema, Ajamil went to Vaikuntha. It was not by Namabhas that he went there. No one can go to Vaikuntha by Namabhas. One can only attain that realm by pure Shuddhanam.
So still Ajamil had to perform and perfect his sadhan bhajan before he could go to Vaikuntha. That is the essence of the instructions of Ajamil. So by the sweet will of the name, he was cleansed and purified, but still he had to perform sadhan for quite some time before he achieved prema. So this is the understanding of Ajamil, and how the nature of Nam is not some kind of formula or some kind of trade, where if for decades and decades I'm chanting, then I can trade that in for some sort of result. So when Gurudev quotes this verse, Jayati Jayati Nama, Nanda Rupa Murari, then he continues on that same lecture of what this name Murari means.
The holy names are the actual form of Murari. Mura was a very powerful demon whom Krishna killed and gave liberation. Therefore, one name of Krishna is Murari, and the form of this Murari is kṛṣṇa-nāma.
So in this verse, when it's being quoted, it's said at the end of the verse, even if one chants the name of Murari once, he achieves liberation. So when one chants the name of Murari, then this is a point that we will discuss in future classes. The form of Murari appears from kṛṣṇa-nāma. So when one takes the name of a particular aspect of the Lord, then that particular form spurti ho jata hai, meaning it emanates from the name of the Lord. So when one takes the name of Murari, 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 then the form of Murari manifests for those who are chanting the name purely. And who is Murari? Srila Gurudev is describing. Murari refers to that Krishna which killed the demon Mura and gave him liberation. So when this verse says, when one chants the name of Murari, he gets liberation, that is because he is chanting the name of Krishna and referring to him as the killer of the Mura demon and one who gives liberation. So we will understand very soon in future classes that having a specific name which is dear to oneself, Svapriya-nama, and which is related to the goal that one wants to achieve, then that name can give great results. So this is a point we will discuss in more detail. But for now, because Gurudev has hinted here, the form of this Murari is Kṛṣṇa-nāma. So instead of thinking of it as just a general name, any name, Krishna, Rama, Murari, Keshav, etc., each name is very particular and brings about a spurti, or an emanation of that particular form, which gives a particular result. Okay, then he continues, still quoting the same verse, Jayati Jayati Nama, Katam api sagrit dattam, and he describes what is the meaning of this.
Katam api sakrid datam. In any way, if one utters only one name of Murari, Krishna, Madhava, Govinda, Rama, and so on, that name gives mukti. The devotee receives mukti very easily, and therefore Krishna has the name Murari.
So when one is chanting a specific name, then he will see or perceive that form of that name, because Nama, Rupa, Gunalila, the form comes after the name. So chanting the Svapriyanam, that is a name that is very dear to the devotee, will give a specific result. Now, when we try to understand the difference between mukti and prema, this verse in the Srimad Bhagavatam by Srila Shukadeva Goswami is very important. So let's try to understand the meaning of this verse in a more detailed way. And in that way, we can also understand the nature of Nama. So this verse is, Rajan Patir Guru Ralam Avatam Yadunam Devam Priyaha Kulapati Kwachakinkarovha Asvevam Anga Bhagavan Bhajatam Mukundam Muktim Dadati Karichit Smana Bhakti Yogam. So Prabhuji, can you kindly read the translation?
Shukadeva Goswami continued, My dear king, the Supreme Person, Mukunda, is actually the maintainer of all the members of the Pandava and Yadu dynasties. He is your spiritual master, worshipable deity, friend, and the director of your activities. To say nothing of this, he sometimes serves your family as a messenger or servant. This means he worked just as ordinary servants do. Those engaged in getting the Lord's favor attain liberation from the Lord very easily, but he does not very easily give the opportunity to render direct service unto him.
So this verse is very important and quoted by so many of our previous acharyas, especially this last line, Muktim dadati karichit smana bhakti yogam. That is, the Lord is very easily giving muktim. Muktim dadati karichit, very easily. He will give liberation. But smana bhakti yogam, he does not give bhakti very, very easily. Now, why is this? That is because bhakti is described by Srila Rupa Goswami as Shri Krishna Akarshani Jasa. One of the qualities of bhakti is that it completely attracts, mesmerizes, and controls Shri Krishna. So in this verse, Shri Shukadeva Goswami is describing to Parikshit Maharaj that, oh Parikshit Maharaj, you're very lucky. You're very fortunate. Because Shri Krishna, Mukunda, he is not only your guru, he is also your worshipable deity. But not only is he that, he's also your friend. And not only is he just your friend, he even became the servant or messenger of your family. And this means he worked just as ordinary servants do. So, in the case of Parikshit Maharaj, Shri Krishna was the charioteer of his dear grandfather Arjun. He was the messenger of Yudhishthir Maharaj before the war of Mahabharata. Then he also served Yudhishthir Maharaj when he conducted his yajna, and he served just as a servant would do in the kingdom to a king. So when someone has pure bhakti in the heart for Shri Krishna, then Shri Krishna does not act like some kind of Lord, just simply accepting the worship and glorification from his devotee. No, he too becomes the servant of his devotee. This is the great nature of Bhagavan. One of his greatest qualities is that he is Bhakta Vatsalya. He has a great desire also to serve his devotees. So, when we think, what does it mean when someone has prema of someone? Someone loves somebody. In this class, sometimes we have mentioned that someone does not just give the keys to their heart to just anyone. That means, for example, Harivala Prabhu, would you give the keys to your heart to just anyone on the street?
No, I wouldn't.
Because why? Because when you give the keys to your heart to somebody, then you also give them the control of your heart. And giving the control of your heart is not a small thing. After all, for example, when we fall in love in this material world, we are placing our trust and giving the keys to our heart to the person whom we love. And then we serve them, we reciprocate with them, etc. So we have to have complete trust in that person, that when I give my heart to somebody, then they will handle it with great care and trust. Similarly, when Bhagavan gives his bhakti, then he's giving his heart to that devotee. And he's allowing that devotee to become the master, and he becomes the servant. So when this verse says, this means he worked just as ordinary servants do, that is because Bhagavan, he always fulfills the desire and he serves the devotee just as the devotee serves him. So because it's not so light to give our heart to someone, similarly, Shri Krishna does not give the keys to his heart very easily. Just as a rich man, if you were to approach a very rich man and you knock on his door and say, give me some money, he might give you $100 or $1,000 very easily and tell you to go away. But instead, if you said, oh, sir, I'm not looking for your money. I'm not looking for any sort of gift from you. Instead, I want to become your family member. Instead, I want to exchange love with you. Then he will say, raise his eyes and he'll say, Acha, really? And then he will check, does he trust this person to enter my home, to become a part of my family? So similarly, muktim dadati karichit smana bhakti yogam. Krishna is very happy to give mukti, relief from the suffering of this world, because it is so tuch, like giving $100 or $1,000. Take it and go away. But to become a family member, because just as he became a family member of the Yadu dynasty, of the Pandavas, similarly, if we want to become a family member of the Lord, to engage in his service with loving affection, then he must completely trust us. And that takes time, and that takes his free will. Only when the Lord desires to accept you as his family member does one become a family member of the Lord. Now, as Gurudev mentioned, those 4 Vishnu Dutas cleansed Ajamil and taught him how to chant the name properly with the right mood. Then he went to Haridwar, associated with more sadhus, and then chanted the name with prema and achieved prema. Similarly, by taking the association of a family member of the Lord, that is, someone who is a pure devotee of the Lord, someone who loves him not for the things that he gets in return, but simply for the pleasure of the Lord, then that person can teach us how to chant the names so that we achieve the highest goal, which is prema. So dear devotees, when we are chanting with adarad, with great respect, and anudinam every single day, with the desire that, oh Prabhu, I'm not looking to trade these names for some sort of result, but instead I want only your prema, because you will be pleased, and that is my satisfaction. Then the result will come much more quickly. That is why Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Prabhupada, in the verse that he quoted, someone who is still attached to those results, that, oh, I should get a good family, relief from suffering, other attachments, that person does not quickly get the result from the name. But if one does it with adarad and anudinam, then definitely the taste will come, and he too will receive the result of the chanting of the names. So with that, let us conclude today's class. And I hope that this references from Shastra and from our Gurudev give some examples of how one should approach the name and how one should chant. So let us conclude with this final statement by Srila Gurudev. Please kindly read.
Don't have any doubts. Previously, Ajamil could not realize the glory of the name, but then his gurus, the associates of Narayana, came to him, and in their light he saw, oh, I have even crossed over death. Although no one can cross death, still no death came to me. Oh, they saved me from death. At that time, he realized that the name is very elevated and has vast power. Why could he not realize this before?
That is because until he took the association of the pure devotees of the Lord, because bhakti sanjatya bhaktya, bhakti comes from bhakti, and only from someone who has prema can one receive prema. Otherwise, until then, we may not be able to chant Shuddhanam. So Prabhu, Gurudev concludes here.
Now he realized his soul. It is by our soul that we can see the effect of the holy name, not by this body, not by these eyes, and not by mental speculation. Even a very wretched, wicked person who chants Harinam can very easily be liberated and saved from death. However, Krishna Prem will never come by this type of chanting. For this, something more will be required.
So, dear devotees, we will conclude today with that statement. For this, something more will be required. So, in our next part of this little mini series, we will try to understand what more will be required in order to obtain Krishna Prema. So, Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripasindubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. If anything good has been said, that is because I'm literally simply repeating the words of the previous acharyas. If any mistake has been made, that is certainly due to my own fault and misinterpretation. Please forgive me. Hare Krishna. So thank you very much. I hope that this made some sense on how we should approach Shri Nam. If anyone has any questions or comments or doubts, they're free to ask.
Thank you, Prabhuji, for today.
Hare Krishna Didi, thank you so much. All right, so if there's no questions today, we will end here, and we will continue this little mini-series next week, and we will discuss the point of how the form emanates from the name and how one should develop an attachment to a particular name. So, Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Śrīla Gurudev ki jai, Śrīla Rupa Goswami ki jai, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari.